Good day. I'm Jeremy DeMoss, Duty Director of Marine Operations on the Night Watch here at the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center in New York. Today is the 22nd of May at 0600 UTC, and I'm going to provide an update on Typhoon O2W Mawar in the Western Pacific Ocean. This is a follow-up to the video we produced last week where we discussed the potential development of Invest 97W. In the following days, the Japan Meteorological Agency and Joint Typhoon Warning Center began issuing advisories on the system. This is a look at the visible satellite from the Himawari satellite, where you can see a nicely organized system beginning to form an eye to the south-southeast of Guam. I'm going to run the loop over the last few hours, where we have seen steady intensification. And with the latest update, we're up to 85 knot sustained winds gusting to 105 knots. The system has been in an environment with some dry air to the south and moderate wind shear, but as it moves to the north-northwest and eventually towards the west, it's going to be in a very favorable environment for further intensification. So we do expect that to occur over the next week, and I will discuss that in more detail shortly. Here's a look at the radar loop from the Guam radar. We can see the outer bands beginning to reach Guam now, and over the next 24 to 48 hours, activity will continue to increase in intensity over Guam, and eventually by the 24th of May, the eye will pass closely over the islands. Here's a look at ASCAT satellite pass, which passed over the system a few hours ago. You can see a tight low-level circulation and a nicely organized system, again with 85 knot sustained winds near the center. Here's the latest track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, showing a north-northwest track over the next 48 hours until the system reaches Guam around the 24th at 0Z. And then the system's currently being steered by the North Equatorial Ridge, which will build towards the northeast of the system and begin to steer it more towards the west by the 24th, the west-northwest. Weather models are in pretty good agreement on that track. This is a look at the GEFS ensembles. Again, we see tight agreement over the next 48 to 96 hours and when that turn towards the west-northwest occurs. However, in the longer range, the big question is when the system will recurve off towards the north-northeast. And this will have big impacts on vessels transiting in the area, north and southbound from Japan, Korea, China, to Australia, Indonesia, Singapore, as well as systems transiting east and westbound across the Pacific. Many vessels in this area will be affected, so it's very important that we nail down the track as soon as possible and provide the vessels in this area with recommendations to keep them safe. Now we will look at the deterministic models here. On the left, we're looking at the American model, the GFS, and on the right, we're looking at the European model. This is the 21st at 12Z model run, and we're looking at the 22nd at 0Z to start. And as we move forward, you can see tight agreement between the GFS and the European model over the next few days. Very close track for both models. Once we get into the longer range by the 28th, 29th, this is when the GFS on the left begins to curve the system more towards the north and eventually north-northeast. And then over on the right, you can see the European brings the system between the Philippines and Taiwan towards Luzon Strait by the 29th into the 30th. So that will have large impacts on vessels in this area. So again, this is something we'll need to be closely watching in the coming days. Now quickly looking at sea surface temperatures and the environment that the system will be in. The latest position is around 9 north, 148 east, right around here. And this is a look at sea surface temperatures in Celsius, currently in about 29 degrees Celsius. This is a map from HICOM. As the system moves towards the north-northwest to Guam, very similar sea surface temperatures, but eventually with that track we just looked at off to the west-northwest, you're going to see the system move into even warmer waters in excess of 30 degrees Celsius and lower wind shear as well. So rapid intensification will be possible at this point in the Philippine Sea, and we could actually see a super typhoon by the 27th or 28th of May, potentially a very strong system by that point. Lastly, we will look at our in-house product here showing the GFS model, the 220Z model run. The red indicates the track from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, and we're looking at the wind field here with the colors, the purple colors indicating 45 to 50 knot winds and black in excess of 50 knots. So you can see the GFS is very tight agreement with the JTWC track, and then as we mentioned, the curve off towards the north-northeast will occur in the longer range at some point, but the European model would actually have the vessel well to the west here at the same time. So again, we'll need to assess the models and how they're performing and the observations to determine the exact track of the system. and we'll be keeping our vessels well advised and safe from the system over the next week. That's it for today's update. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and follow us on LinkedIn to receive all the latest weather and routing news. Once again, this has been Jeremy DeMoss from the Fleetweather Ocean Routing Center. Stay connected and safe.